It's a great question. I've definitely seen two sides of the argument. My work with GYA, we have seen an exponential increase in traffic on the website, particularly looking for our domestic options. You know, again, going back to the program I work with, we are the Global Gap Year Fellowship, but are not going to be operating globally this year. We are going to be doing domestic service unless there's travel warnings are lifted for the spring, but for sure the fall they will be domestic. And there definitely has been a huge push kind of nationwide. Students are starting to get creative and think about what are alternatives to physically being on campus when that's really not going to be an option in some places, or really not a meaningful experience in some places. But there are universities that are pushing back and saying, no, we need you to come here. We need you to, I don't want to necessarily venture a guess as to why, but different universities have different policies, that saying, well, kind of the old school thought of a gap year of, oh, you're going to take time away, you're not going to come back. And that's a concern that I think a lot of administrators may be having. But I would push back on that, honestly. My experience has been, and again, I do work with a university affiliated program, but my experience has been once a student has the opportunity to explore, to learn about their passions, they come back reinvigorated. And they're much more focused. They have the skills they need to thrive in college. And honestly, retention is incredible with our GAP students. They are finishing in sometimes less than 4 years, and they're very focused. So I would push back on that, but that is something in kind of I would say an old school way of thinking, that if a student takes time away, they're not going to come back. And I would also say that to those who say, well, maybe they're just going to be at home, there's some really great online options that are popping up in the GAP community. I would also say that something that we've been working hard as a GAP community is making these opportunities accessible. The GAP year has, in a lot of cases, been seen as something that only folks who have certain socioeconomic status could really take advantage of. But there are really great programs out there that are trying to make these opportunities accessible. Obviously, our program, it's a full scholarship for all of our students. So we try to make it so that it doesn't cost them any money. There are programs like Global Citizen Year, who have an online academy it's a sliding scale based on your financial ability to be able to pay for something. So there are some really great programs that if students aren't able to go into the community, that are still available for them to really have some structure. They're not sitting at home doing nothing, and they're really still making meaning out of this year.